Hi, my name's Dave, I'm also known as Infected Flinch, and I attempt to make games. Well, attempt, anyway. Today's topic is the idea of how to get your game off the ground. Specifically, mechanics, dynamic, and aesthetic. Sadly, not quite as exciting as it sounds, but it is something within games, and something we should take special care of when making one. These can constrain, enhance, or just plain annoy when creating your game. So first off, let's understand how you, the games designer, have to ensure that the player is having fun, because remember,
if you're having more fun making the game than the person playing it, you've fucked up, son.
Right, take a look at this diagram. Notice the three things I mentioned earlier: mechanics, dynamics, and aesthetics. We can quickly call this MDA. Isn't that a drug? Oh wait, I think that's MDMA. In this entire thing, you have the designer in the middle. They are close to the mechanics of the game. The designer creates the mechanics and everything then spans outward from that. So if, for example, a platforming game, the designer must understand the tropes that the player must guide themselves from one specific location to another. So Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is a good illustration of where you are placed within the level, and the overall arching mechanic is to explore everything to the right of the screen, because if you go left, you're going nowhere. Obviously, it's not just simply that. There can be more to the mechanics. So for example, in a first-person shooter, there is the need to gain ammo, health, keys, and kill the enemies to survive. Doom, for instance, uses this and tells pretty much nothing to the player, but manages to use its aesthetic to tell the player what is happening. When a player gets to any game, they have to take everything they see on face value, and this can be life or death of any game. Essentially, a player coming to any game has to feel it fits for what they want to play. So Doom, back in 1993, and probably even now, you are given a gun. Off you go, shoot those guys. It's simple, and people took to its almost arcade style of play, which is not seen in many first-person shooters nowadays. Unless you count the new Doom. Anyone with no knowledge or prior tutorials can tell another person if they are having fun with a game. Take Pong. Yet again, simple idea, keep the ball from going past your paddle. Anyone can tell you how they feel with a game straight away with just the human touch. Now here is the middle ground, the dynamic. The dynamic is where the game designer and player meet on a common place. The designer has created the mechanic and the player has understood the feel of the game. If the game's design has been immaculate, then the player understands the mechanics and then can deal with the overarching dynamics that have been created from them. Yeah, this is the weird bit. So to illustrate this further, we're going to use two different examples for a game. We've got Sonic the Hedgehog 2 and Sonic Spinball, or Sonic the Hedgehog Spinball if you want to get proper. Both good games in their own ways, but some would argue why one of these doesn't quite work like the other. So as previously mentioned, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is a good example of showing you the aesthetic to the player, sense of where the ground is, what is good to touch and what will hurt you. Also, since there's only really one button that does all the hard work, it's easy to figure out how to jump and how to use the spin move. Oh god, that spin move is still so good even now. The player understands the dynamics. To run fast in the earlier levels is to flow breathlessly through the game. As the game progresses, the player understands that the dynamics change from new mechanics being introduced, such as drowning. Oh, the sound of that music. Dark colours mean danger with enemies and boss battles, and everything that is good is nice colours. However, in Sonic the Hedgehog 2 there is a level called Casino Night Zone, which introduces a new mechanic to the gameplay: pinball. Now personally, and I think for a lot of other people too, everyone hated the Casino Night Zone levels, as this took away some of the control involved with Sonic. Especially when you would get stuck in a constant cycle of rage bouncing off things! Sonic Spinball uses the ideas of Casino Night Zone and introduces the mechanics of a pinball game, but has the established mechanics already of Sonic the Hedgehog 2. It runs slower, looks different, and even sounds different. Aesthetically, there is very little to tell you where to go with the pinball bar across the top, telling you what to do. Yeah, it actually does that. However, this mechanic creates an odd mix of not allowing Sonic to be fully controllable, but actually controllable at the same time. The dynamic changes that the player has to use the flippers to really use Sonic effectively. This can create the annoying loop I mentioned earlier in Sonic 2, and man, does it great. The problem is, the game is visually dark and noisy and wow! That doesn't quite annoy you enough to scare the shit out of you each time. For me personally though, I actually really like Sonic Spinball. but I know there's a lot of people that don't. And I will be perfectly honest, I don't think I ever got past the first level because it was too damned hard. So what I will say whenever you make any type of game is this: don't create rules that are fun to yourself because you're enjoying it. Make sure you check that there's actually any gameplay once you're done. I've been Dave, also known as Infected Flinch. Be sure to check out my main channel over here, and if you want more, be sure to click that like button, comment and subscribe. Ta-ta sauce!